Okay, so imagine this. You've been training like really hard for a marathon. You're on the treadmill, you got the pace down,
Yeah.
but then, bam, suddenly it's an obstacle course
Oh, wow.
right in the middle of the race.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like trying to navigate, the world today
Yeah.
with just a traditional education prepared for one thing.
Right.
Reality's like, nope, something else.
Totally.
So we're diving into that today, this whole idea of how linear education,
Yeah.
that steady, predictable kind of learning,
Yeah.
it's struggling to keep up
It is.
with the reality of constant change, like super fast change.
Yeah, yeah.
Exponential reality, as some folks call it. And to get specific,
Okay.
we're going to look at two schools doing things a bit differently.
Right.
EdQuest International and Rochfords Education.
Interesting.
See how they're tackling this.
Yeah, that feeling of being like caught off guard. That's because this traditional linear model, it was made for a world that just like doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's like trying to run that obstacle course, but you still got your marathon shoes on.
Exactly.
So, to make sure we're all starting on the same page here,
Sure.
could you unpack linear education a little bit? What does it actually look like?
So picture a factory, okay? Assembly lines, parts all standardized.
Okay.
Everything moving in a sequence, predictable. That's basically linear. It's the factory model of learning.
I see.
Taught a bunch of facts,
Mm-hmm.
tested on them, moved to the next stage.
Rinse and repeat.
Exactly. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Made sense when the world was more predictable, right?
Right.
People had like one career their whole life.
Yeah, the whole learn, test, repeat. It's like those widgets moving down the factory line.
Perfect analogy.
But, like you said, the world's not a factory anymore.
No.
Way too fast for that.
Way too fast.
And this is where exponential reality comes in, right?
Exactly.
It's not just that things are changing, it's the speed.
It's the speed, yeah.
Like, one of the sources we looked at used Moore's law to show this.
Yeah.
The whole idea that computer power doubles every 2 years or so.
Yeah. Incredible.
It's mind-blowing. Like,
Yeah.
smartphones today
I know.
are more powerful than the computers that put people on the moon.
It's crazy. It really is.
Wild, right?
But the key takeaway here is that this exponential growth,
Yeah.
it's not just tech, it's hitting like everything.
Oh, yeah.
Healthcare, personalized medicine, gene editing,
Yeah.
finance, crypto, algorithmic trading, all that.
Yeah.
Even education is being disrupted.
Yeah.
You got online learning platforms, AI tutors.
It's like we're living in a sci-fi book, but it's actually happening.
I know, right?
So with all this change swirling around us,
Mhm.
where is linear education falling short?
Well, the problem is it's really focused on teaching information,
Okay.
which in this world of exponential change,
Yeah.
it gets outdated fast. What we need is to equip students with skills,
Yeah.
skills to adapt, to learn as the world keeps changing around them.
So it's less about memorizing all the facts.
Much less.
More about learning how to learn,
Exactly.
how to be adaptable, problem-solve things you've never even seen before.
You got it. That adaptability, that's key.
Gotcha. So with all that said, let's look at how some schools are approaching this whole thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
One example that jumped out, EdQuest International.
Okay.
They're really big on this experiential learning, right?
Yeah.
Not just sitting in a classroom absorbing info. They have students actually doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hands-on projects, solving real problems.
Real world stuff.
Yeah, they're doing some pretty innovative stuff from what I read. Like, they partnered with local businesses
Oh, cool.
to create this program where students design and build sustainable urban gardens.
Wow.
So they're applying STEM skills, but it's also a real-world environmental challenge.
That's fantastic.
So they're getting their hands dirty, literally, and seeing how their knowledge can make a difference.
It's so much more engaging than just like reading it in a textbook.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's a perfect example of how they're moving away from that old lecture-based model, embracing the learn-by-doing idea.
Yeah, it's like preparing for that marathon turned obstacle course we talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not just learning to run straight, you're getting that agility, those problem-solving skills.
And navigate whatever comes up. Now, on the flip side, we've got Rochfords Education.
Yeah,
They're taking a slightly different approach, right?
they are. While EdQuest is all about that hands-on experiential stuff, Rochfords is focused on personalization.
Okay.
They believe that one size doesn't fit all when it comes to education.
Right.
So instead of a standardized curriculum, they tailor learning paths
Yeah.
to each student, their needs and interests.
And they're actually doing this in their homeschooling programs, right?
Yeah.
In EPO and Cameron Highlands. It's really interesting how they've created these flexible learning environments.
They have. It's for a really diverse range of students.
Yeah, so what's interesting about Rochfords is it goes beyond just personalized paths. They're emphasizing skills that can be used in any field.
Absolutely. Creativity, problem solving, connecting ideas across different subjects.
So they're giving students the tools to adapt no matter what they end up doing.
Exactly.
But they're not ignoring tech.
No, not at all.
I mean, they're exploring things like AI-powered tutoring systems
They are.
that can adapt to each student's pace and style.
It's amazing.
And they're also experimenting with gamified learning platforms.
Yeah, to make it more engaging and, fun.
It sounds like they're really embracing what tech can do to personalize things.
They are. They're really forward-thinking.
So we've got EdQuest, hands-on, real-world problem solving, and Rochfords, personalized learning paths.
Yeah.
Like they're both tackling this same challenge, but from different angles.
They are.
But both recognizing that traditional linear education just isn't cutting it anymore.
Yeah, it's not enough.
They're both offering, compelling solutions to the same problem.
They are.
And there's a lot we can learn from both of their approaches, I think.
I think so, too.
And this actually brings us to a really important trend that's popping up across industries.
Okay.
This whole shift from degrees to demonstrable skills.
It's a huge shift, absolutely. It's like a fundamental change in how we value knowledge and assess it,
Yeah.
We're moving away from a world where your credentials were everything.
Right.
To a world where it's your actual abilities.
Like to do.
Exactly. That matters.
Like one of the sources even talked about how tech giants, Google, Tesla, Apple, they're now prioritizing skills over traditional degrees.
I've heard that too. It's not enough to just have that piece of paper saying you took a course.
Yeah.
You got to show that you can use that knowledge.
Solve real problems.
Exactly. Real world problems.
And this is where schools like EdQuest and Rochfords are kind of ahead of the curve. Because by focusing on projects, on portfolios, they're helping students show off their skills in a way that employers actually get.
Absolutely.
It's like they're giving students tangible proof
Yeah.
of what they can do. And that's gold in today's job market.
It is.
Which is crazy competitive.
It is. It really is. Yeah, it's a shift with huge implications for anyone going through education or, in their career right now. Well, what's exciting is these two schools, despite their different approaches, they're highlighting some key trends that point to a more adaptable education system.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are these trends and what do they actually look like?
Well, first you got personalized learning, which we talked about a bit with Rochfords.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that, students learn differently. Different paces, different ways. Tech can play a big role here, like AI-powered learning platforms.
Okay.
That can adapt to individual needs, give customized feedback, all that.
So instead of everyone marching to the same beat, your students can learn at their own pace, focus on where they need help, and move faster where they're already good.
Exactly. It's about making the learning experience tailored.
Right.
Which is way more effective and engaging than just a one-size-fits-all thing.
Makes sense. What else are these schools showing us about where education's headed?
Another big trend is moving away from these rigid subject silos.
Okay.
For so long, education has been, math, science, history, all separate boxes.
Right, totally.
But the real world doesn't work like that.
You're saying we need to be able to connect those dots.
Yeah, connect the dots between different areas, use those insights in a more holistic way, I guess.
Right.
And that's where this whole idea of interdisciplinary learning comes in.
I see.
Both EdQuest and Rochfords, they're integrating subjects, teaching students to think critically across those boundaries.
Can you give an example of what that might actually look like?
Sure. Imagine a project where students, they got to design a sustainable city of the future. They'd need to pull in knowledge from science, engineering, urban planning, even social sciences, right?
Wow.
To think about the impact, environmental, economic, social, all of it.
That's a great example. It's not just knowing facts by themselves, it's putting it all together.
Yeah, synthesizing info from different fields to tackle these big, complex problems.
And that kind of thinking is becoming super valuable in the workforce, right?
Oh, absolutely. Lots of jobs now need people who can work across teams, use knowledge from all over the place.
Okay, so personalized learning, interdisciplinary thinking. What else is on the horizon for education, do you think?
The third trend, and this might be the most obvious one, is the focus on experiential learning.
Right, we saw that with EdQuest's hands-on stuff.
Yeah, but it goes beyond just building gardens or robots. It's
Hmm.
giving students chances to apply their knowledge in real settings.
So like internships.
Yeah, internships, community projects, even starting their own businesses.
Learning by doing, getting out of the classroom into the real world.
Exactly. And I bet that experience is huge for building confidence, resilience, all that.
I can imagine. It's not just the technical skills, it's those soft skills too.
Right. Teamwork, communication, problem solving. Essential stuff for any field, really.
So we've got personalized learning, interdisciplinary thinking, and experiential education. Three big trends that seem to be pointing the way forward.
Hmm.
But I'm curious, is there something that, like, ties all of this together? A common thread?
That's a good question. I think the answer is this shift towards lifelong learning. It's realizing that education doesn't start when you finish school.
Right.
In a world that's changing this fast, we got to be constantly learning, adapting,
Expanding what we know, what we can do. It's like that marathon turning into an obstacle course. Can't stop training just because you hit the finish line.
Exactly. And I think schools like EdQuest and Rochfords, they're crucial here. They're not just teaching facts, they're creating this mindset. Curiosity, adaptability, a love of learning.
Right.
That'll stay with their students long after they graduate.
You know, that really hits home for me. I recently decided to learn how to code, like through an online platform.
Oh, cool.
Never thought I'd do that. But I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. Made me realize that learning new stuff can be fun, empowering. At any age, really.
That's awesome. That's a perfect example. It speaks to the power of embracing that lifelong learning idea.
It's not just about keeping up in your job, it's about personal growth too.
Absolutely. Expanding what you're interested in, keeping your mind sharp.
Realizing that learning never really ends. So we've talked about these trends, but how does this connect to, like, the average person listening right now?
Right, right. What does it mean for them, practically speaking?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the key question.
Yeah.
I think the big takeaway is this. That old model of education, go to school, get your degree, get a job, it's not enough anymore. We got to be thinking about education as something we do our whole lives.
So it's not just wit, it's being able to use that knowledge and adapt to new situations.
You got it. World's changing faster than ever, and the only way to keep up is to embrace this lifelong learning thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's online courses, workshops, reading, or even just pursuing what you're passionate about, there's so many ways to keep learning, keep growing.
So in a way, we're all becoming students for life,
Yeah.
always evolving and adapting to what's around us.
Exactly. And that's actually a pretty empowering thought, I think.
It is.
It means we're not limited by, our formal education or our past. We have the power to create our own learning journeys and, shape the future we want.
This has been a fascinating discussion. I think it's given us a lot to think about. But before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your final thoughts. What's the one thing you want our listener to take away from all of this?
It's funny. After all this talk about exponential change and adapting to the future, the question I always come back to is this. Are you learning for the world as it is or the world as it's becoming?
Whoa, that's deep. So it's not enough to just, keep up with today. We got to be thinking about tomorrow.
Yeah, anticipating what's next and building the skills we'll need then in that world that's always changing.
Right, because what worked yesterday might not work tomorrow.
Yeah.
And what was once cutting-edge knowledge.
It can become obsolete so fast.
Crazy fast. So it's like constantly upgrading our mental toolkit.
Exactly.
Being ready to adapt to whatever comes up, challenges, opportunities, all of it.
It's a lot there.
It is. It's a lot to wrap your head around. I mean, how do we even start preparing for a future that's so uncertain, full of unknowns?
It's a good question. I think schools like EdQuest and Rochfords, they give us a good starting point. They're pushing students to be curious,
Yeah, I saw that.
to experiment, to be okay with failing and seeing it as a chance to learn, and to be comfortable when things are, ambiguous.
And everything is black and white.
Right, exactly. And those are essential skills when the only thing that's constant is change.
It's about being okay with not knowing all the answers.
Yeah.
Being open to learning, adapting as we go, which honestly can be kind of scary.
It can be, especially if you've always been taught that learning is about finding the right answer.
Yeah, here's the test, fill in the bubble.
Exactly. But it's also freeing,
It is.
It means we're not limited by what we already know or what someone told us.
Right.
It opens up so many possibilities for growing, for discovering new things.
And that discovery part, That's what makes learning so exciting.
Totally.
It's like exploring a whole new world, never knowing what's around the corner.
Exactly. And the more we embrace that feeling of adventure,
Yeah.
the better we'll be at dealing with whatever the future throws at us.
I love that.
Yeah.
So to bring this all home for our listener, what's the one message you want to leave them with? What's one thing they can do, like today, to start getting ready for this crazy exponential world?
I'd say embrace the challenge.
Okay.
Don't run away from what you don't know. Don't let being afraid to fail stop you from trying.
Right.
Be curious, ask questions, experiment, and never stop learning.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The future belongs to those who are willing to learn, to adapt, to evolve. And who knows, you might even discover some hidden talent or passion along the way.
Yeah, that's the best part. The journey of lifelong learning, it's full of surprises.
It is.
Unexpected turns. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it.
Well said. Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into linear education versus exponential reality.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation. I hope our listeners feeling, inspired to take charge of their own learning.
I think we've given them a lot to chew on, and hopefully some solid ideas to start putting into practice.
It's been great exploring these ideas with you.
Likewise. And to our listener, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, keep pushing yourselves to grow. You never know where that journey might lead.